Eran vaqueros del infierno que lanzaron al mundo del metal por la garganta.
That was really extreme metal before people called it extreme metal.
There wasn't anybody out there that could touch us.
We wanted to terrify people.
Pantera apaleaba multitudes en sus conciertos y liderados por el guitarrista Dimebag Darrell Abbott, parrandeaban más fuerte de lo que tocaban.
Just to play the guitar, you have to get a couple cocktails in them.
It was out of control.
The only band that I've ever known that if you didn't drink, you'd get fired.
El brutal estilo de metal de Pantera forjó una hermandad. Pero a mediados de los 90 la adicción a la heroína del cantante Philip Anselmo empezó a destruir todo.
I saw him laying on the ground blue and people hitting on him and all this.
I thought I could do anything and there wasn't a damn thing that could beat me. I was wrong. I was wrong.
Después, en un aterrador momento, todo llegó a un inesperado final con el horrible asesinato en el escenario del guitarrista Dimebag Darrell Abbott.
Stop, please. Stop shooting. You're killing all my friends.
Just like a cannon blast.
Ahora aceleren a todo lo que da con Pantera.
We were a machine.
Esta es la historia en Behind the Music.
Don't underestimate the kid. You're crazy if you do. And I am the kid.
Come on, buddy.
Behind the Music. Pantera. Es diciembre 8 y el ex guitarrista de Pantera, Dimebag Darrell Abbott, sube al escenario en un club nocturno en Columbus, Ohio, con su nueva banda Damage Plan.
It's just another night.
We do the sound check, everything's rock ready for the show, you know, we're ready.
Then he got on the kit, he walked around the corner and fired off into the song.
Al principio parecía como cualquier canción, pero el aniversario número 24 del asesinato de John Lennon estaba por convertirse en otro de los oscuros días en la historia del rock.
We couldn't have been more than 10 seconds into the first song. When I looked up, I saw the guy coming across the stage. The first thought that came to my mind is that he was a cop. He wasn't in full throttle run. He was marching in. He was on a mission. And I saw him raise his hands up.
I had my back turned with the amps behind me, and I heard the noise.
Con un revolucionario estilo, Dimebag se convirtió en un mesías del rock pesado. Pero su odisea musical empezó casi 3 décadas antes, cuando Darrell Abbott, de entonces 11 años, se convirtió en un soldado del ejército de Kiss. Se enlistó con su vecina Rita Haney, quien años después sería su novia.
I mean, my first concert was Kiss, and his was too. I remember he almost cried because he missed Gene Simmons' Breathing Fire because some old lady in the back behind us was all stoned and put her cigarette out in his hair.
El circo sónico de Kiss inspiró a Darrell a escoger un instrumento para él. En su cumpleaños número 12 le regalaron su primera guitarra.
The next thing I know, Darrell's standing in his room, got his guitar strapped on in a Kiss outfit. Got his face all done up like Ace Frehley in the whole 9 yards, you know.
Once he started playing, he was completely obsessed with the guitar. Took it to the bathroom with him.
Mientras Darrell practicaba con las cuerdas, su hermano mayor, Vinnie Paul, golpeaba los tambores. Y en 1981, aún siendo adolescentes, los hermanos formaron Pantera. La banda se terminó de formar con el bajista Rick Brown y el vocalista Terry Glaze.
We started immediately jamming at Vincent Darrell's house out in the garage.
I got in the band, they said, you gotta wear spandex. I said, no way. But I eventually put on some freaking spandex.
There was wild stuff that went on in that house. Lots of things we weren't supposed to be doing. It was out of control. Vincent Darrell's house was party 24/7.
Rápidamente los de Pantera se volvieron los reyes del circuito suroeste, incluso antes de tener edad suficiente para ir a bares.
Man, we'd get calls from people, hey, we're having a keg party, we gotta have Pantera, man.
We were rock stars in that little universe that we were in. We were burning it up. A bunch of skinny little kids dressed like girls and spandex jumping up and down, singing about heavy, scary stuff.
They were arena ready before they hit the bars.
Para 1986, inspirados por la música pesada de Metallica y Slayer, Pantera derramó su brillo metálico hacia una tendencia más agresiva. El estilo rockero del cantante principal, Terry Glaze, no encajaba con la nueva filosofía sónica de la banda, y fue despedido, reemplazado después por el joven de 19 años de Nueva Orleans, Philip Anselmo.
It was harder, it was edgier, it was walking more with swagger, you know?
They knew, and I knew right off the bat, the first time we had ever jammed, I had never played with a band this tight. I mean, these guys were stunning, you know, it was like, my God, you know, this is unbelievable.
He came down and we did a jam session together, and it was just like, it all fell into place, you know. He had the same gig going on that we did at the time, the spandex, the spiked hair, he fit right in, you know.
Pantera tenía su nuevo cantante, ahora necesitaban afinar su imagen.
Around the end of 86 or 87, we kind of had a band meeting, and we just said, you know what, these magic clothes don't play music, we do. Let's just go out there and be comfortable, jeans, t-shirt, whatever, and see where it goes.
Para principios del 89, los nuevos y feroces demos de Pantera encendieron el interés de Atco Records, quien mandó a Mark Ross para ver tocar a la banda en una fiesta de cumpleaños en Dallas.
These four guys come on stage and they start spinning their hair. Like, oh boy, what are we in for here? But then Daryl just launches into one of his riffs, and then Phil opens that mouth of his, and this just roar comes out that just is overpowering from the get-go.
Pero Ross se fue a los 20 minutos de su presentación.
I think I turned around to Vince and go, he's split. You know, we'd had everybody come out and see us at a certain point. We were just like, so we got ripped.
All of a sudden, they start throwing birthday cake, and we start slamming drinks, and Diamond Rex are sliding around on the dance floor.
I mean, you couldn't even step on that floor without busting your ass.
As soon as we get done, the dude comes over to me, and he goes, man, that was one of the most incredible live bands I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, well, dude, how come you left about 3 songs into it?
I told him that, you know, I went to call my boss and say this was just unbelievable. We got to sign these guys immediately.
En el invierno del 89, Pantera rugió en el estudio para grabar su gran debut en la disquera. Estrenado en julio del 90, Cowboys from Hell sirvió como un feroz mapa sónico.
You know, it was a whole new animal. Unbelievably powerful, it was undeniable, it was fierce as hell.
I was like, holy, you know, like, how did they do that? You know, how'd they go from here to here?
En el otoño del 90, Pantera abría una gira nacional junto con Suicidal Tendencies y Exodus. Virtualmente desconocidos, los vaqueros del metal impactaron al público con implacables presentaciones.
We called that the Kill or Be Killed tour, and we went out and killed.
That was really extreme metal before people called it extreme metal.
We wanted to terrify people, you know.
Pantera destazó multitudes en todo Estados Unidos y en el proceso revolucionaron su gira.
Bucket of bolts, 10 swinging on this thing, and it'd break down just every other night. The septic tank would fall out and everywhere, so a lot of fun.
Everywhere we went, we just barely made it from gig to gig. I actually drove the RV on that tour with Suicidal from Chicago to Minneapolis with no headlights.
And we got no headlights, and I'm like laying on the floor, like passing out, and he's like, oh, that car's coming, so I gotta reach down in there and put the wires back down to make the headlights work, and until they go by, and they're like, okay, and he's just driving, you know, by the moonlight, you know, and it's like, the car's coming up, lights, headlights, okay.
At the end of the 6 weeks or however long that tour was, every single thing on this motorhome was broken. Everything. It was insane.
We went up dropping that thing off in the middle of the night at the RV place we rented it from. Hopped in the car, we drove off. Here's your RV back. Later.
Después de Cowboys from Hell, Pantera estaba listo para llegar al panteón del rock pesado. Pero la sólida banda de rock pronto se encontraría en tierra inestable. A continuación, las 100 prescripciones para aliviar el dolor de Dimebag Darrell.
I was like, how you feeling, brother? He was just like, not too good, bro. just to play the guitar. You have to get a couple cocktails in them.
Cuando Behind the Music continúe. Para 1991, Pantera se había posicionado a la cabeza de la música metálica. Regresaron al estudio a finales del año para grabar Vulgar Display of Power, con un ambicioso objetivo: eliminar las fronteras del rock pesado.
We were so possessed, really, and focused on what we wanted to do.
You can't be something you're not.
There wasn't anybody out there that could touch us. We kept getting, heavier and heavier and tighter and tighter.
It was exciting to hear that they took it that far, that they took it that direction, and just went deeper and darker.
La intensidad del álbum estaba a la par de la brutalidad creciente en sus espectáculos.
I guess not everybody that goes to a rock show or a heavy metal show is going there to get their nose broken. A lot of people want to watch. And I wouldn't allow it if I didn't get what I was demanding out of an audience. I guess I became furious.
I want to see you lose your mind. I want to see you get some there. Everybody.
If you're a parent, you totally don't want your kids going to a Pantera show, either because they're going to come back with a bloody nose and black eyes, or just because they're going to come back so hopped up, you're not going to want to deal with them.
It's just an unstoppable wrecking ball. It's definitely beyond awesome.
Las poderosas presentaciones de Pantera golpeaban al público, pero la parrandera banda tenía lo mejor detrás del escenario, donde bebían alcohol como si fuera agua.
We would joke with people. They would say, how'd you get the opening slot? And we're like, well, you got to sign a contract that says you will drink with Pantera every night, otherwise you're thrown off the tour. People are like, really? I'm like, yeah, really.
How's it going, man? The only band that I've ever known that if you didn't drink, you'd get fired.
They went through unbelievable amounts of liquor backstage. I had to see the bill, so I was always shocked more than anybody else, I think.
It's like a gigantic toga party at all times, you know what I mean? If you're having a crap day and you go backstage at a Pantera show, you're going to have a good time.
And smile, it's Blacktooth Grin.
La banda llamó a su cóctel favorito la sonrisa de los dientes negros, nombre tomado de la letra de una canción de Megadeth llamada Sweating Bullets.
Blacktooth was the drink of choice. The Crown splash of Coke, Seagram 7 splash of Coke.
Good. Ben.
And there were thousands flowing before and after and during the shows.
We burned many a brain cell together on the Blacktooth Grin.
Blacktooth Grin.
Todos los de Pantera gustaban del alcohol, pero nadie bebía con más gusto que Dimebag Darrell.
I was like, how you feeling, brother? And he was just like, not too good, bro. just to play the guitar. You have to get a couple cocktails in them, but you'd always get out there and whoop ass,
Couldn't even say his name, but just get up on stage and just wail on guitar. The nights that you thought he was going to be absolute shambles on stage were probably some of his most brilliant performances.
Dimebag se aseguró de que cada presentación estuviera llena de diversión sumergida en alcohol.
Don would come up with all kinds of crazy. We'd be in the middle of bump, and he'd come up with some crazy ass game to play, or just to break up the monotony. And that's the kind of cat he was.
One time we had hung all these like Hustler fold-outs and stuff on the wall, and he had bought this thing of green slime. We'd throw them, and if you hit the face or something like that wasn't good enough. That's a shot of whiskey. If you hit a or something, or if you hit it smack dab on the crotch region of the young lady in the photo, I think you probably still had to do a shot of whiskey.
We had one of those breathalyzers on the road. Dime brought it in from somewhere, and so everybody would, see how drunk you are. Oh, dude, you're not nearly drunk enough, Pour him another shot.
Para 1994, el rock pesado había sido declarado muerto en la ola de la nueva revolución grunge, pero Pantera estaba preparado para atacar con una venganza cuando entraron al estudio a grabar su siguiente álbum, Far Beyond Driven.
I remember one of the main thoughts going into that record was we have to be heavier than Vulgar. This has to be a heavier record. And I was thinking to myself, how is that possible? How do we do that?
Each record, we wanted to outdo the next record.
And we just said, we're going to make the most balls-out, kick-ass record we can make.
Far Beyond Driven fue estrenado el 22 de marzo de 1994. Sin tocarlo significativamente en la radio en MTV, debutó como el número 1 en el Billboard.
That was the most abrasive record I could ever imagine, and it went and blew up the charts at number 1 and just scared everybody, which was great.
And it was funny because all the magazines you'd read and see it'd say, overnight sensation, Pantera. You know, we're like, we've been out slaving on the road for 4 hard years and 7 years in the nightclubs before that. It was a pretty exciting time.
For metal, to have a band like Pantera come out and enter the charts at number 1, it just showed you that there's no way you can't kill this, because there will always be a band that's going to fly that flag in the face of everything else. And Pantera was the band in the 90s that did that you could actually say saved metal.
Pero la llama incendiaria de los guardianes del rock pesado estaba por quemar a su vocalista. Mientras promovían su disco Far Beyond Driven en el 95, Philip Anselmo empezó a distanciarse de la banda.
He would just start freaking out about stuff, and nobody would know why. One night we were playing a sold-out show in Hamburg, and he didn't get the reaction that he wanted out of the crowd, and he just comes back there and says, "F*** y'all, I quit." You know, obviously he didn't quit, but this is when things started really going sideways, you know.
I can recall Daryl calling me and saying, look, man, I don't know what's going on with this dude, but... You know, and of course everybody kind of thinks, well, you know, maybe it's the fame thing going to your head.
Anselmo atribuye su comportamiento errático a un dolor de espalda crónico causado por años de violentas actuaciones en el escenario.
It causes isolation. It causes your entire lifestyle to change. And at that point, Pantera was gigantic, and I had a job to do. Through pharmaceuticals or anything to get me up on that damn stage and desperately not feel that pain. I would drink an entire bottle of Wild Turkey before we went on to just be numb, which of course was affecting my performances and putting some worry into the band, you know.
Pero la ansiedad de la separación de la banda se hizo más profunda cuando su cantante empezó a probar un peligroso camino de narcóticos. A continuación, el baile de Philip con la muerte.
This nurse leaned over and said to me, "Welcome back to life. You overdosed on heroin."
Cuando Behind the Music continúe. Pantera. Para 1995, Pantera era la banda de rock más pesado del mundo. Impulsada por la locura frenética de su guitarrista Dimebag Darrell, esta locura musical tejana agitó los sentidos de millones de delirantes fanáticos.
When you buy a Pantera record, you're going to get bludgeoned, you know what I mean?
Pantera is about as metal gets, you know.
We were a machine. That's the way we operated. All the parts fit together, you know. When we played, when we did something like, I mean, we all hammered it together.
Pero en el escenario, la máquina de Pantera mostraba señales de mal funcionamiento. Entre más grandes eran las multitudes, más impredecible se volvía Philip Anselmo.
He wouldn't treat the fans with any respect, wouldn't treat us with any respect.
Quit making all this stupid noise.
Just, you didn't want to be around him. He was a miserable person, you know?
I could get the ground to crack in half and have everybody dive into it. You know, yeah, I could tell people to take off all their clothes and have an orgy on the floor, and they would do it, you know?
Phil had a lot of opinions, and I would just listen to what he was saying, and I would say, oh, jeez.
I got a big mouth and a big so take your choice.
Get the lawyers on the phone. There's going to be a riot. We're
Justo cuando Pantera estaba subiendo a su máxima altura, Anselmo estaba tocando fondo. Atormentado por un agonizante dolor de espalda, las erráticas travesuras del cantante amenazaban con acabar con la banda más ruda de Estados Unidos.
You never knew what Phil was going to get on stage. Some nights you'd get the Bulldog, and other nights you'd get the dude on 12 somas or whatever he was on and laying on his back screaming in the mic, you know, and it was embarrassing.
He always complained about his back. We all told him all the time, get x-rays, go to the doctor, let's get it fixed so we can get on with this, and he never would.
They wanted to fuse the discs from the front, cut a piece of my hip out to use the actual bone as the cartilage part. And I was like, well, what's the recovery time on something like this? Oh, well, it's going to be about a year and a half. I'm like, a year and a half? No way, man. I've got work to do.
Para mantener el salvaje ritmo de Pantera, Philip experimentaba con soluciones más peligrosas para su perpetuo dolor.
I was really turned on to heroin. I realized that it would numb me out so much that the pain was gone. And that's like putting a Band-Aid over cancer.
Conforme las drogas aminoraban el dolor, Philip continuaba aislándose de la banda. Durante las grabaciones del 96 de The Great Southern Turnkill, Philip grabó la voz en Nueva Orleans, mientras que Dime, Rex y Vinny grabaron la música en Texas.
He would do his vocals, and then I would bring him back to Texas after 2 weeks, and they would hear him. So there was more of a disconnect between the two. It was the only way we could work at that time.
I was unapproachable. My mind was not my own, and it was filled with discord, if anything.
It was just real uncomfortable, man. It was just what the fun was gone, you know? The unity that we once had wasn't there. At the time, I didn't know anything about heroin. I had no clue what it was.
El 13 de julio de 1996, una hora después de un triunfante espectáculo en el Starplex de Dallas, en Texas, Philip sufrió una sobredosis de heroína y su corazón dejó de latir por casi 5 minutos.
Somebody comes running around the corner and says, Phil's out. I saw him laying on the ground blue and people hitting on him and all this, and I was like, damn, dude had heat frustration. Said, no, dude, he OD'd on heroin. I'm like, heroin? You gotta be kidding. No way, not Phil Anselmo.
The paramedics get there and they put him back on the couch and give him a shot, I guess, of adrenaline and put the oxygen on him and pump his chest and revive him.
I didn't know what had happened, and had all these tubes hooked up to me, and I sat straight up and threw up immediately. This nurse leaned over and said to me, "Welcome back to life. You overdosed on heroin."
La noche siguiente, Philip se disculpó con sus compañeros de banda y con el equipo, pero Pantera nunca volvería a ser la misma.
I had never felt smaller in my entire life. I begged for their forgiveness, and I promised them and I swore to them that this would never happen again.
It was definitely a wake-up call for all of us. It's like something that's been obvious in front of your face for years and years, and you go, aha.
I thought I could do anything, and there wasn't a damn thing that could beat me. I was wrong. I was wrong.
La lucha de Philip contra la heroína destrozó lentamente a Pantera.
The dude was on a steamroller to self-destruction. I don't think anybody could have helped him.
There's a different look in everybody's eye. That inch of doubt that was never there before. The lack of trust. You know, where you going, man?
When Phil was on, he was on. Joe would have never taken that away from him or anything, but he was very embarrassed by him.
I relapsed maybe 2 more times, and I felt so guilty afterwards. I was like, why the hell? Why?
La lucha de Philip convirtió a Pantera en un barril de pólvora. Incluso el vicioso guitarrista Dimebag Darrell empezó a andar con cautela acerca del inestable vocalista.
He would even try to be low-key when walking into a room if Phil was there. On purpose, like he would kind of shadow his own personality just so that it didn't ruffle his feathers.
Dime and Vinny walked on eggshells for way too many years, waiting on that dude, waiting to see what that dude was gonna do, how he was gonna react to a certain situation.
La impactada banda no regresó al estudio de grabación por 4 años. En el 2000 se intentó reinventar el estilo de Pantera, pero las viejas tensiones resurgieron en el camino.
Daryl would make an effort to go over before the show to do a shot with him and go check on him after. He was pushing away all the people that really loved him and cared about him.
It was the same stuff, the same song list, the same. Once again, the communication was so bad that no one would even go to Phil and talk about changing the set list before a tour started.
A finales del 2001, la gira de la banda fue abruptamente interrumpida por la tragedia del 11 de septiembre. No tenían idea de que habían actuado juntos por última vez. A continuación, un impactante asesinato en Columbus, Ohio.
It was like a real bad movie. None of it seemed real whatsoever. None of it. None of it.
Cuando Behind the Music continúe.
En las Panteras.
Después de andar a todo lo que da por casi 2 décadas, Pantera pisó el freno en el otoño del 2001. Pero el vocalista Philip Anselmo no estaba listo para retroceder. Rápidamente regresó al camino con un proyecto alterno llamado Down, al que se unió el bajista de Pantera, Rex Brown.
The last thing that he told us when we finished Reinventing the Still tour was like, I'm going to go home and take a year off. My back's hurting. I'm done with it for a while. A month later, he's putting out the Down album and recording it.
He even said, I'm not trying to tour on it. In 6 months, you'll have your new Pantera record.
I mean, I could sit here and just keep going and going. Any free time I had, I would start something that would turn into something awesome.
Then he puts out Superjoint, goes out tours for that. Then he does another Down tour, and then another Superjoint record. Okay, this is not what he told us.
I mean, how long do we gotta wait around for this thing?
Con Philip enfocado en otros proyectos como Superjoint y Down, el pequeño descanso de Pantera se volvió en unas extensas vacaciones. Durante casi 2 años, el cantante no mantuvo contacto con Dime y Vinny.
We couldn't communicate. Nobody would call us back.
We got everybody on the phone here, and we need to talk to Phil, and he would never come to the phone, ever. It was always sleeping in the shower, or there's a hurricane coming, he's got to board the windows up. I mean, give me a break.
Are you talking to me?
He said, she said, nonsense that was going on, and I didn't get in the middle of it. A lot of it was nothing but horror. So at a certain point, there's no going back. You know, absolutely none.
En el 2003, con Anselmo ausente, los hermanos Abbott abandonaron a regañadientes la única banda que habían conocido.
We were sitting there rotting away. 2 of the best musicians on the face of the earth that play that kind of music were sitting there and having to take it in the face. No future, no nothing, just sitting there wondering what the is happening.
You know, this is like these 2 kids who've basically built this family business from the ground up, and then all of a sudden, they can't run that business anymore.
La espera hizo a Dimebag Darrell caer en una espiral de depresión.
You know, he'd never been off that long, and that was probably the worst 2 years, I think, of his life.
He'd call me loaded or whatever. I just go, dude, what's going on? He's just like, I'm just bummed out, man. I go, well, Dime, look at it this way, man. The good Lord gave you a gift. He put it in your hands, man. I said, you're the best guitar player in the world. I said, just get out there and just, you know, get Vinny, get some ass-kicking musicians with you.
A finales del 2003, Dime y Vinny formaron Damage Plan y sacaron su nuevo álbum a principios del 2004.
It was weird for the fans. You know, they wanted Pantera. I mean, you've been serving people Coca-Cola for 200 years, and then all of a sudden you tell them we're changing the flavor and it's now going to be called Diet Right, you know?
Incluso después de que los hermanos se olvidaron de Pantera, Philip continuó atacándolos en la prensa. En la edición de Metal Hammer de diciembre del 2004, Anselmo dijo que deseaba seguir la guerra contra el guitarrista.
I remember Dom going, dude, this ain't funny anymore. This is not funny. What have I ever done to that guy to deserve this other than stand up on stage and kick ass for him?
The comment about Dimebag deserving a beating and whatever the hell. We had finished that damn interview. It was a tongue-in-cheek thing that I said, and it ended up on the cover of the damn magazine.
I've got the audio tapes of Phil in that interview. He said what he said, word for word, in a very calm tone of voice, and he's got to live with that the rest of his life.
After he read that article, Daryl wrote a letter and said, you're in competition with someone that's no longer in your life, And I think the very last thing that it says in it is, no longer will you trample through my peaceful mind. It was for Philip. He was done. He wrote him off. He'd had enough of it.
Dimebag había hecho las paces con el recuerdo de Pantera, pero su felicidad duraría poco. El 8 de diciembre del 2004, Damage Plan estaba en una gira de 2 meses en centros nocturnos en Alrosa Villa, en Columbus, Ohio. Pero la actuación pronto terminaría en una tragedia. Después de 10 segundos en el escenario, un ex-marine de 25 años, Nathan Gale, subiría al escenario disparando una pistola de 9 milímetros.
I just screamed as loud as I could, and bam, bam, bam.
I just remember screaming, he's shooting something, and Vinny came off the drum riser, and he's coming at me, and he's going, he just shot my brother, he shot my brother.
I went to jump from behind the drums to run out and help. And John, Dom's guitar tech, tackled me and held me on the ground.
As soon as I knew he was pointing the other way, we both ran across the drum riser and got to the other side of the stage.
It kept going on, and he picked me up and shoved me and said, run, man.
Go! 911, what's your emergency?
See Alrosa, we have a shooting.
911 emergency. Alrosa bar, please, we need help as soon as possible.
Oh, my God.
911.
He came in with a gun and started shooting people.
Oh, they're still shooting.
He's on stage right now. He's got a gun.
The guy's on stage with a gun?
My cell phone rang. It's Vinnie Paul. And he goes, dude, I just saw my brother get shot in the back of the head 5 times. And I go, are you kidding, Vince? I go, what are you talking about?
People were trying to rush the guy, and he shot a couple of people to keep him away. The whole time he was looking for Vince.
Después de darse cuenta de que Dimebag estaba mortalmente herido, el técnico de la batería, Cat Brooks, intentó dominar al tirador.
I went after the dude. Said, you.
Cat was fighting with him, and he kept telling Cat to settle down, and he wouldn't.
And just kept shooting me. And just kept telling me, stay down, stay down. And I'm looking out in the audience, I'm like, dude, somebody help me out here.
I thought he's killing my friend right in front of my face, and I just screaming no, but there was nothing I could do.
I can't really see what's going on. I'm just, I'm like, quit shooting. Quit, stop, please. Stop shooting. You're killing all my friends. Stop it. And he goes, shut up, bitch.
I looked over my shoulder and I heard the chaos, and I look, and there was an officer coming through the door.
And immediately I saw someone laying there that was bleeding. There was a small group of security guards standing there saying, he's there, he's there.
El oficial de Columbus, James Niggemeier, fue el primero de 8 oficiales en llegar a la escena del crimen. Solo 3 minutos después de haber recibido la llamada a las 10:18 de la noche.
I motioned for the officer over there, and I said, yeah, you gotta kill this guy. He's gonna kill more people. He's got my friend.
As I started working across the back of the stage, he then moved the gun to the hostage's head. And as soon as he put the gun to the hostage's head, I realized that I had to do something to try to save the hostage.
And then just all at once, he just took aim and he just leaned back real slow.
I watched him click the safety with his finger, and when he clicked the safety, I just plugged my ears and turned my head.
I stopped and pulled the trigger.
It was just like a cannon blast.
All of a sudden, the weight was off me, and I was like, somebody got him.
I see you, Tyler. He had his gun to his head. You had to do it. You saved a man's life.
And it was over. It was over just like that.
I looked up, and he was down. The cat was moving, and at that point, I ran to the floor, where they had Dime on the floor.
And Vinny kept calling me, and he still didn't know nothing. And then when he called me back and said, my brother's dead, and that's all he could say. And we both just cried.
It was like a real bad movie. None of it seemed real whatsoever. None of it. None of it. And that was that, man.
Al final, 5 personas habían muerto, incluyendo a Dimebag Darrell. Cat Brooks sufrió heridas en el pecho, el brazo y la pierna, pero salió del hospital 3 días después del tiroteo. Los motivos de Gale por el crimen siguen sin aclararse, pero los investigadores creen que estaba molesto por la separación de Pantera. Behind the Music, Pantera.
Consejos familiares.
Pantera. El brutal asesinato en escena del guitarrista de 38 años Dimebag Darrell Abbott en diciembre del 2004 sacudió a todos los que lo conocieron o fueron tocados por su música.
Nothing like this has ever happened. Lennon, maybe. But Lennon wasn't shot and killed on stage. I mean, Dime was murdered on stage. It's just shocking.
I lost everything that night, you know. I just feel like somebody took a hacksaw and cut me right down the middle, took my right arm, my right leg, and my whole heart.
I would love it if 2 minutes from now he walked through that door. I still feel like he's going to. He did not deserve this.
El funeral de Dimebag fue todo menos sombrío. Fue el máximo mensaje del rock and roll, con todo y un ataúd de Kiss en el que se enterró al fallecido guitarrista.
There's all these rock stars coming in. It just looks like Headbangers Ball. There's Eddie Van Halen up there talking at the funeral service. He puts his guitar in the casket with Darrell. It's the guitar off of Van Halen 2. You know, the black one with the yellow stripe. I mean, it's the guitar. And all I can think is that, you know, back in the early days when we're teenagers, if someone would have said, Darrell, when you die, Van Halen's going to put that guitar in the casket with you, Darrell would have said, kill me now.
Dime was in his Kiss coffin, and everyone's putting like bottles of Crown in there for him. There must have been about like 15 bottles of Crown Royal, and I go, you think this is going to be enough for the trip upstairs?
It was amazing, but, you know, it's like I told Rita and my dad, you know, after all this is over, we're going to be 3 of the most lonely people in the world.
Un prodigioso grupo de la realeza del rock pesado se reunió en Arlington, Texas para recordar a Dimebag Darrell Abbott, pero un prominente músico estaba ausente.
And I'd flown to Texas to be there and bury my brother. I sat in a hotel room for 5 days, waiting, sending message after message to Vinnie Paul and anybody else who would even care to hear.
They stuck the phone in my face and said, Phil's on the phone, and if you don't take the phone, he's going to show up. I got on the phone, and I instantly just said, why are you calling now? And, of course, I started to cry. Why didn't you return the 9 phone calls when Darrell called you? I go, if you show up here, I'll blow your head off myself. And I hung up on him.
And I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral.
Después de la muerte de su hermano, Vinnie Paul Abbott supervisó el legado de Darrell y empezó su propia disquera, Big Vin Records.
I love playing music and I want to do it again, but right now I want to see what it's like being on the other side of the coin. If I come across the right situation or the right people, then I'll be back.
Philip Anselmo, quien dice haber dejado la heroína en el 2002 y que se operó la espalda en el 2005, sigue enfocándose en los proyectos musicales Myriad.
You ready? I adore what I do. I live for what I do, and I'm still damn doing it. Yes, I've had to have probably the most major back surgery in the history of back surgery, man, you know. Don't underestimate the kid. You're crazy if you do. And I am the kid.
Pero hasta estos días, la mala vibra entre Philip y el clan Abbott continúa hirviendo.
I want him to live a real long, hard life in the shadow of Dime now, because he'll always be in his shadow. And that was the thing he seemed to fear the most of. Well, karma gets you, I guess.
Meses después del asesinato de Dime, Anselmo dice que recibió un mensaje de Vinnie Paul.
And the conversation went something to the effect that my day's coming. And my rebuttal is, Vince, all of our days coming, bro. And if my day happens to end earlier than your day, does that change anything? Will that change anything, or will you lose another brother? I'll be honest with you right now. I need Vinnie Paul real bad. I need him in my life. And whether he knows it or not, he needs me as well.
Pero algo en lo que todos están de acuerdo es en el eterno impacto de la música de Darrell Abbott y de su espíritu.
He's just up at God's Tavern, you know, making cocktails for everybody, hanging out with Randy Rhoads and John Bonham and Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin, everybody.
Darrell Lance Abbott. In this house will be revered and will be loved and celebrated forever. You know? Period.
Everybody wanted Dom Tom. Now I got to have the most. So I feel fortunate.
He would take me in his arms. Dad, I love you. Yes, I love that. Sorry. That's what I remember the best. Underneath all that hard rock and roll exterior was a little boy.
En memoria de Darrell Dimebag Abbott.